All you have to do is survive.
Right now we're just outside Slab City on the banks of the Nile River. Can you introduce yourself?
If I were to talk about my past, I used to be a skilled welder and a proficient fabricator. I worked as a dedicated twin boat and Navy ship mechanic, but I was never actually in the military myself.
What was it like living off the grid without electricity, water, or anything like that?
It was really tough. I lived on the street for 2 years. Yes. And right after my mom and dad died, I ended up on the street in San Diego. I was living in a park, so the police kept coming and harassing us. They kept saying, "You can't stay here." We had nowhere else to go. Before coming here, we couldn't settle anywhere. We couldn't find a place to stay. With my ex-wife, my daughter, and everyone, we managed to stand on our own feet. We found an apartment here, and that way, all of us somehow connected here.
California is one of the richest states in the United States. However, the people living in Slab City live in poverty and hardship. The area's recent history dates back to World War II. In 1942, the U.S. government established a training base there for Marines. Various tank and artillery fire exercises were carried out in the area. After the war, the camp's activities ended, and after 1956, the military buildings were demolished one by one. All that remained were concrete floors and slabs, as well as abandoned scrap metal. The name slab means metal sheet in English. The town got its name from these abandoned metal piles. By the 1980s, groups of people fed up with the capitalist system and modern life in the U.S. began to emerge. Those who could not adapt to this fast-paced, stressful lifestyle began to see Slab City as an escape. This unofficial desert town became a place where nomads, retirees, people with alternative lifestyles, and outlaws settled. Although it was an abandoned military site, it has become a refuge for adventurers, homeless people, and others in need who want to live outside the system over the past 40 years. Since the land is public property, residents do not pay rent and are not required to leave. However, due to the lack of legal regulations in the area, daily life is marked by chaos and disorder. The desert climate further complicates life there. In fact, temperatures in Slab City can reach up to 50 degrees Celsius during the summer months, and the area receives almost no rainfall throughout the year. In this barren landscape, there are plenty of desert plants and thorny bushes. The permanent population of the area is fewer than 1,000 people. However, the area has become more well-known due to its recent mention on social media. As a result, campers from around the world have started going there to camp and organize events. Nevertheless, since there is no official registration system, it is difficult to determine the exact population. What is certain is that the number of seasonal migrants, known as snowbirds, and elderly retirees is increasing day by day. In Slab City, it is easy to come across LGBT individuals, homeless people, war veterans, divorced people, drug addicts, hippies, thieves, and robbers.
5 years ago, we had a much bigger business. It was called Handlebar. And we used to help the community. We provided free communal meals every day. For example, last time we were given 1 or 2 pallets of expired IPA. And these were either suggested donations from travelers, that is visitors, or they came from people in the area. I've always come and gone. To Handlebar, there was a stand wall there. I'm the clown of Slab City. So you know what I mean, right? I mean, not always, but I'm someone who gets along well with people. I know the elders, and I also know the people that nobody likes. I'm just someone who gets along well with people. People come to me, or for example, they can trust me. We're a bunch of people in the damn heat, and we're really open to interaction. Interaction, and always at the same time when it gets dark, that is, after the sun sets, you have the meal of the day. Then you can go outside and really mingle with people, and you don't die from the heat.
If you encounter a problem in the area, you will not be able to find the police and will not be able to ask for help. People who decide to live in Slab City must protect themselves. Police intervention is almost non-existent. Only in very serious cases, such as murder, will state police carry out operations in Slab City. Since owning a gun is easy in the United States, many residents have handguns for self-defense. When they feel threatened, everyone tries to defend themselves with their guns. Since there is no official court, issues related to town order are resolved through community decisions. Although these rules aim to keep the place peaceful, there is a high likelihood that people may harm or damage each other's property. For example, you may wake up one day to find that your trailer has been burned down, your car windows have been broken, or your belongings have been stolen. Some people's cats or dogs may even be stolen. People get clean water from wells, streams, and water tanks. They never have the chance to shower daily. There are wells in secluded, grassy areas of town where people go to bathe and carry water to their shacks in plastic containers. We went with our American cameraman friend to one of these water sources. In this area, for example, where water has collected, you can wash yourself and clean your body, just as our friend did. There is no time limit on how long you can stay in the water. If you want, you can spend the whole day cooling off in front of the water source. Further on, we came across a flowing well. It wasn't easy to get there, and we had to walk quite a distance. Passing through the reed beds was risky. Dangerous animals such as snakes, mice, and ticks may be present in these grassy areas. The people living in Slab City use water from these wells to shower and wash themselves. Our teammates said the water was refreshingly cold. Walking from the town center to the water sources is extremely tiring. Imagine walking in the middle of the desert at 45 degrees Celsius, with no sign of life around you. What's more, you're doing this just to survive and clean your body. You walk for minutes toward the wells to find drinking water. Similarly, you have to leave your shack to use the toilet and find a secluded spot with grass. This is because the shacks are poorly constructed and not connected to a sewage system. People walk from the town center to secluded areas in the heat just to use the toilet. The community does not consider it appropriate to build toilets in the town center. Contact between feces and high temperatures increases the bacteria count in the town, leading to the spread of disease. Slab City residents try to extend the life of their living spaces and avoid moving elsewhere by disposing of trash and feces as far away as possible. On the other hand, those who can afford it own a car. Some even have solar panels installed on their shacks to generate electricity. They mostly use the electricity to charge their devices. Some residents allow free use of their resources for the benefit of the community, while others charge a fee for their limited electricity. For example, there is only one library and internet access point in the town. When people in Slab City want to read a book or access the internet, they can go to the library. Of course, there is no membership or card system at the library. Philanthropists and seasonal migrants donate books to the library. Slab City residents can borrow any book they want for free, take it back to their shacks, and read it. They are expected to return the book afterward. Those who don't participate in such social activities and have no income are helpless and resort to theft. For example, groups known as tweakers in the US are one of the biggest symbols of danger in Slab City. They make disturbing noises and exhibit tendencies toward theft and violence. Their presence further increases the chaos of life in this lawless place. As you know, there are nearly 1 million homeless people in the United States. Those who have settled in Slab City exhibit various paranoid behaviors. If you interact with the people in this town, you can earn their trust by giving them something or offering financial assistance. Some people who want to isolate themselves have chosen a random piece of land, surrounded it with large tires, and claimed it as their own private property. Residents who arrived later and occupied state land have hung signs on their doors asking people to stay away from their homes. Looking at the other houses and surrounding objects, you will see many items made from scrap materials. People have repurposed scrap for their own purposes and placed it in front of their doors for decoration or security. Some of the scrap also gives an impression of the artistic ideas of Slab City residents. They have produced decorative materials resembling monsters that generally have no meaning. For instance, they dressed this alien head in a t-shirt and pants. They even put a chain necklace around its neck. This design is undeniably unique in an artistic sense. Here, they have created a corner made from old televisions. Each television has messages written on it. The aim is to convey social and political messages while adding to the number of unusual decorations in Slab City. Meanwhile, a man has built himself a stone hut in the middle of the desert and is cooking meat. He made a barbecue out of tin and is cooking meat. He spends all day in his hut, which looks like this. People living in Slab City generally have old vehicles, at least 20 years old, which they use to obtain food from the nearest city center in this desert climate. Since there are no official businesses in town, people are forced to use cars to meet their basic needs. There are also mobile, unofficial businesses and shops in the area, such as the one owned by the man we interviewed. Residents obtain their urgent needs from these mobile shops. The man we interviewed sells products he purchases from official shops at a slight markup to make a living. Everyone in Slab City has a unique life story and a story about how they came to live there.
How do you feel about safety in Slab City? What do you think? Here in the slabs, I feel safer. I grew up in a neighborhood where our crime rate was 0. Sometimes a car window would get broken, that's all. And despite everything, all the crime in Slab City doesn't even add up to a single day's worth of crime in Los Angeles. So it's really not that bad. Yeah, it's like a normal neighborhood. I grew up in a military environment for most of my life. I used to listen to military bugles. In the mornings when the flags were raised and I waved crab traps, I farmed oysters. They were all really nice jobs. Maybe I could say the city is a bit crowded, but I don't think that's the biggest problem. Back in the day, and when I was in high school, I used to skateboard 15 or 20 miles a day. And if I tried to go out on that road now, skating past the water lilies and under the oak trees like I used to, people would call the police. They'd say, this guy is wandering the streets like a madman. Sometimes I kind of wanted to go to a place like, a state park or something. You want to go outside and see some trees, but you have to pay $17 just for parking. You could be taken to court because your grass is too long. There might be an issue with your spouse. I mostly moved here because of the landscape and things like that.
What exactly is it that truly draws and attracts a diverse range of individuals from all walks of life to the unique and unconventional desert community known as Slab City?
There's no government prosecution or bullying. People who come here usually play street music or tinker with things. They spend time outside, but they come here for the good weather. For example, if you get $2 a month, it might not seem like much. But here, if you've already made the investment, if you have a solar panel, an air conditioner, a fridge, and a place to live, all you have to do is binge watch television shows all summer or whatever else you want, or just survive. I've been coming here on and off for about 7 or 8 years. All right, I just came back after a 3-year break because I had gone back to see my family. I was here in January when I found out my mother had died at Christmas.
Not everyone in Slab City wants to be interviewed. They want to be left alone and do not want to be watched or known by others. For this reason, it may be difficult to interview them and publish the interviews. On the other hand, we can discuss the positive aspects of Slab City that connect people to life. For example, this town has recently become a center for freedom and alternative art. Some even call it the only free zone in America. The area boasts stunning cultural structures like Salvation Mountain and East Jesus. One of the most striking symbols of Slab City is the colorful mountain, which has been under construction since 1980. It features Bible verses and messages of love. Over 50,000 gallons of paint are said to have been used during its construction. A homeless man collected this large amount of paint through donations. He spent 30 years painting the hill and bringing it to its current state. He finished painting the hill in 2002, after which it was designated a national treasure by the United States. Today, the hill is Slab City's most iconic structure, and the number of tourists visiting it increases daily. People live in Slab City, where good and evil coexist, either because they are penniless or have nowhere else to go. In the United States, one of the 5 richest countries in the world, nearly 1 million people are currently living on the streets, and this number increases every year. The country's exaggerated individualism is driving people into loneliness. Half of people aged 12 and older in the United States have used an illegal substance at least once in their lives. Since 2000, 1 million people have lost their lives to drug overdoses within the country's borders. Slab City, an alternative community created by people who don't want to pay taxes, is one of the places where the harsh realities of the United States are most acutely felt. These people have lost faith in the American dream, and their campsites resemble a preview of the remote corners of future American cities. This is Slab City, and it is far from a traditional settlement. In a place with no electricity, water system, police force, or city hall, hundreds of people are trying to survive by their own rules. Sometimes seen as the last bastion of freedom, and other times as a symbol of poverty and neglect, one thing is certain: Slab City is one of the few places that has managed to exist outside the modern world. I hope this documentary has broadened your perspective on the world. Don't forget to follow the channel to avoid missing the new documentaries we'll be uploading. See you in the next video.